I'm going to talk to you about Tom Allen. Tom Allen's work first exhibited in the Foley Art Gallery, New York City, in about 2004. Since then, he's become a well-respected illustrator whose work has been featured in Vanity Fair, Wall Street Journal, Newsweek, New York Times, and many other publications. His style is really unique, which I like. He has a unique sense of creativity and whimsy that he puts in his work, and has a really special ability to craft stories from very few materials. This is Tom Allen. He's a runner, and I'll get back to that later. I love this piece from his Pulp series, which includes art from Pulp Fiction novels, particularly Old West novels. I think this exhibits his ability to craft a story again with very few materials. So only using two books and some cutouts of some cowboys. But you can still make up a story in your mind because of this piece. The same happens here, although it may be a little bit more on the nose because there's more visual context. I like this one because it literally leaps off the page. And although that might seem a little bit cliche, I think he does it in a tasteful way that is creative and unexpected that you don't usually see books in this context. I like his use of camera work in this piece, along with his minimal materials. So here you can see a cowboy coming through saloon doors, but they're attached to books. So obviously, you know this isn't an actual saloon; it's books. But then your focus is right to his gun belt, and so you know that something is going to happen, but you don't need a lot of visual evidence to see that. You can pick up cues because of the framing and the composition and the depth of field that shows you that. Some of his most powerful work isn't necessarily related to cowboys, though I do like the cowboy work. This, for example, Lament, I think tells a really interesting story that may not be obvious, but just playing with the emotion of the foreground character and then the first background character and the second background character, you can make up a story that is maybe a little bit mysterious, and that's what I like about his work. In about 2009, Tom reached kind of a roadblock with his Pulp series to the point where the Foley Art Gallery curator told him, if it's getting hard, if you find that you're not interested, then you need to stop doing it. And so he did. And he stopped his Pulp collection in 2009 and hasn't really added to it. He's done some commissions, but that's about it. Since then, he has created a new collection called Beautiful Evidence, and this collection has a little bit more whimsy and playfulness as he combines children's books and science books. Here you can see little boys playing marbles with the map of the solar system, which I think is really a really fun concept. His work is very concept driven, which I appreciate, but it's not necessarily an ambiguous concept like a lot of other abstract art. And this piece I feel really represents kind of head in the clouds and whimsy and childlike creativity. And I think he captured that really well. Um, he took out the string that was holding up the girl in post production, but other than that, everything, all the other effects are in camera. This is another example of a piece that I really like because of the concept of disproportionate. You can see the moon is bigger than the earth, and the earth is bigger than a bike wheel. So some of those proportions are obviously correct, and the earth is bigger than a bike wheel, but it's not that much bigger. It's much bigger than a bike wheel, and the moon obviously is not bigger than the earth. So I think it's a fun concept that's just communicated very simply. In addition to Pulp and Beautiful Evidence, Tom's work was used by Chip Kidd to illustrate an entire issue of Francis Ford Coppola's literary magazine, the entire issue. So you can see a variety of his work here. I really like this piece about David and Goliath because he uses depth of field to create some 3D effects, and I like how things just pop off the page. I mean, it is very literal, but I do think it is effective and super creative. Tom said that he gets a lot of inspiration from just running because it's a time where he can clear his brain and he can de-stress, and it's kind of his anxiety reliever. But he also picks up trash along the way. But the rule is that he can only pick up the trash that he can carry. So he has just a garage full of clamps and other random materials that he wants to use someday in an art piece, which I think is a really fun concept. Overall, I really like Tom Allen's work. I think he's a really amazing illustrator, and that shows because of his resume of work that he's been featured in so many publications because his work is so relatable and exciting and unexpected and just well crafted.